Hey, what's up? My name is Greg, and last week I had the privilege of attending the AI Engineer Summit in New York City, and I wanted to share some photos and thoughts and takeaways from that 3-day event. I'm going to start with the hallway track. You can watch the recording of the live stream, and over 40,000 people have, and you can see all the talks from day one and day two. But the hallway track, I think, is the reason why you actually go to these things, right? So you can sit next to people, and there's so much serendipity. And so I learned so many little tidbits here and there just from the random conversations come up. And one of my favorite parts of the conference was on day 3, just after lunch of the day of the workshops. And a couple of us just sat down at this quiet table that was tucked away. And over the next couple of hours, we just kind of stayed there. And there was just this rotating cast who would just come and sit at the table and just chat, either as a group or in ones and twos. And I just learned a ton. It was so cool hearing what people were working on. Shane, he had just taken second place in OpenAI's hackathon the weekend before. He had won $15,000 in credit. He built this thing called Bellhop that used OpenAI's real-time voice API to provide sort of like a co-pilot to the folks working in customer support at high-end hotels. And what I loved about this is he mimics some of the UX patterns that we see that work really well in AI code editors. So for instance, instead of having an automated support agent that would make the changes on behalf of the customer, it would propose the changes to the customer service agent, and then the agent could accept them in the same way that you might accept a diff in Cursor, for instance. It's just really cool to see some of those design patterns coming out of the coding world and into the world of customer service. Met this gentleman from Argentina whose name I forget at the moment, and maybe I'll overlay it on the video when I edit. But he was from Buenos Aires. He had flown up for it, and he said all of his friends in Buenos Aires are building these WhatsApp bots, and they're all LLM powered, and they're helping people in all these various small businesses, people's personal lives. And it just reminded me so much of, it was probably 7 or 8 years ago when I was working at Twilio and we launched the WhatsApp API. And living in America, not being around a lot of folks who used WhatsApp, I didn't really understand what the big deal was until we flew up a developer from Brazil for a hackathon that we were having with us. And we go out to a baseball game afterwards, and he shows me his phone and shows me that basically his whole life is on WhatsApp. And it was just this great reminder of like how sheltered you can kind of be and how myopic you can be when, in my case, I spend most of my time either in New York or flying to San Francisco a few times a year. And it was just awesome to be in a room full of developers from all over the world. I met other folks who had flown in from Paris, from Germany, and just hearing about what they're building, what they care about, and what's happening in their world was just a great reminder that there is a whole world of developers out there who are building on this stuff. I got to see Jason Liu again. He gave maybe the most popular talk in AI Engineer Summit history. His Pydantic is all you need. I recently took his course for AI consultants, which was great. Highly recommend that. He helped lead a workshop on systematically improving RAG. Also got to see Steph again. I had met her 6 months ago. She gave maybe one of my favorite talks at the conference about the work she's doing building AI for kids. You should check that one out on the live stream. Also ran into Hassan again. He leads DevRel at Together AI. He's built so many AI powered demos, and he's kind of like my hero when it comes to, I think, this new era of internet-based DevRel, where you build cool stuff, you make some videos, you get people using it. All right, let's talk about the talks. A little bit of background. Swyx is the creator of Latent Space. He's also the creator of this AI Engineer Summit. This was a slimmed down version for their first event here in New York City. It was a single track, 3-day conference. Day 1 was the leadership track for a lot of VPs of AIs. Day 2 was for AI engineers, and day 3 was hands-on workshops. I really liked the single track format. The talks were short, 18 minutes a piece. Swyx did a great job curating them, and there were no vendor pitches. And when Swyx announced that at the opening, he got a big round of applause. And I thought Swyx did a really good job of setting the stage with the opening talks at each day, because the opening talks address the fact that agents are not working that well. So the first talk, day 1, the VP track, was from Grace Isford from Lux Capital, and here's what she said.
But in reality, these AI agents aren't really working just yet. The point here is that something simple like booking a flight is actually really complex in nature when all these tiny cumulative errors add up. And they get even more amplified in a complex multi-agent system with multi-step tasks.
And then Swyx opened up day 2.
Stop me if you heard this one before. 2025 is the year of agents, right? If you say it often enough, it might be true. I think that when people make predictions, oftentimes they confuse what they want to happen for what will actually happen.
And the talk following Swyx was Sayesh Kapoor, who wrote the book AI Snake Oil.
The theme of this conference today is agents at work. Unfortunately, for the next 18 minutes, you'll be stuck with me talking about how agents don't work very well today and how we can do better when it comes to AI engineering.
So there was this acknowledgement that agents are not living up to the hype. But of course, also, there was a whole lot of other talks after those. And I think it would be a huge mistake to just wave away agents as vaporware, because a lot of folks at this conference then were talking about ways that they were deploying agents either externally or internally that were delivering a lot of value. We saw several patterns come out of when agents are the right tool for the job, places where they are delivering a lot of value. And the two that really struck me the most were research agents and coding agents. There was this block of talks around the theme of agents in finance, and we had developers from BlackRock, Bloomberg, Jane Street, a startup called Brightwave, all talking about how they were building agents, often for internal purposes, and often they were research agents and getting a ton of value out of them, especially around consuming, summarizing, analyzing huge corpuses of knowledge. Here's how Mike from Brightwave described it.
Goodness, you get into confirmatory diligence, and you've got 800 vendor contracts, and you need to spot early termination clauses. You need to understand thematically, how is my entire portfolio negotiating their vendor contracts. It's frankly not a human level intelligence task.
So my personal takeaway from this, my personal action item, was to sign up for OpenAI Pro and start trying out their deep research. And this came from a conversation I had with an attendee on day 3. He asked me if I tried it yet. It costs $200 a month. And I was like, no, I basically have unlimited appetite to try out $20 a month subscriptions, but $200 a month feels like a lot. And he said, yes, I know, I felt the same way, but I committed to signing up, trying it for 1 month and see. And he's like, I've gotten so much value out of it. So I personally am going to try using it in the creation of YouTube videos to research ideas, create code, create scripts for tutorials, and I will report back and let you know. I've given myself 1 month to try it out and see if it helps me. But I can say it seems as if financial institutions are getting a ton of value out of research agents, and I've committed to seeing if I can figure out ways to do the same in my work. So another use case where agents have unquestionably found product market fit is coding agents. Every developer in that room uses LLMs in their development practice. And a lot of the conversation in the hallway track was about, what IDE are you using, or how is your team changing its workflow to accommodate these things? But it was a big theme throughout the whole conference. One of my favorite talks was Barry from Anthropic. I felt like a little bit of a fanboy watching him give his talk because he published or is co-authored a post a couple months ago called Building Effective Agents that was really popular and super practical. I did a video on it, just talking about great patterns for building agents, when you should and shouldn't build agents, the importance of keeping agents simple. And he talked about why coding actually makes for a very good use case for agents and plays to their strengths.
Why is coding a great agent use case? First, to go from design doc to a PR is obviously a very ambiguous and very complex task. And second, a lot of us are developers here, so we know that good code has a lot of value. And third, many of us already use Claude for coding, so we know that it's great at many parts of the coding workflow. And last, coding has this really nice property where the output is easily verifiable through unit tests and CI. And that's probably why we're seeing so many creative and successful coding agents right now.
There were also talks from Augment Code and Windsurf, two Cursor competitors. I'm a big fan of Cursor. It's one of the few AI-powered tools that I use nearly every single day. It's hard for me to imagine switching. I will say over lunch on day 2, I sat down next to Kevin from Windsurf. He's the lead product engineer, and he was just about to go out and give a talk. So I was really impressed that he was socializing at all right before his talk, and he did a great job on his talk. And I'm sitting next to him, and then a younger developer sits down across from us, and the younger developer's like, oh, you're from Windsurf? I love Windsurf. It is so much better than Cursor. I have deleted Cursor. Here's all the reasons why I love it. And Kevin kind of looks at me, he's like, I didn't pay him. I'm like, no, this is great. So, one of my action items from this conference is to give Windsurf a try, which is going to be hard because Cursor just released a new version that I'm excited to play out. But one of the things he talked about in his talk was that they have, in Windsurf, replaced the chat interface entirely with the agent.
We deleted chat. So what does this mean? We only have an agent, and it's called Cascade inside of Windsurf. Chat is a legacy paradigm, and we completely replaced it. And as you can see here, users are enjoying it. Or in fact, they might not even know the difference, but they're just enjoying the higher quality. 90% of the code that they're writing is generated with Cascade. That's an astonishing number. Autocomplete was more in like the 20, 30%. This is insane, right? Your people are using agents today to accomplish so much more than they could have in the past.
Big thank you to Swyx and Ben for bringing the show to New York. If you made it this far in this video, you should probably go check out the live stream. It's got over 40,000 views already. The talks are great. They are running the AI Engineering Summit again in San Francisco in June. That one's going to be bigger, probably a couple thousand people. It will almost certainly sell out. So if you're interested, make sure you get your tickets now, and I hope to see you there.